Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Beyond the Bar podcast. I'm your host, Denisa Tova, and today I am truly thrilled to be speaking with Jeff Catterson. He is an experienced family law attorney. He's also a partner with a law firm called, and this is a mouthful, Stemple Catterson, LaFermento, Carlson Biondo LLP. Hopefully, I get that right. And Jeff is someone who really embraces do not sweat the small stuff, keep it simple, and always follow your moral compass. And I really mean it. I really mean he really does. He is a family man, charitable man. He's a football fan on steroids. He doesn't take steroids, but he's a massive football fan. And he always speaks with a total ease. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Denisa. Pleasure to be here.
So, we spoke a little bit, and this is always a great opportunity for me to get to know you better, other than introducing you to our audience. So, you shared with me that your yearbook in a fifth grade and your own personal experience led you many years later to the law. Tell me about this journey.
So, I always knew early on that I wanted to be an attorney. And back when I was younger, I always viewed an attorney as a prestigious career, someone to be respected, someone who could help others in the community. And that's what led me to the law. And maybe as you get older, you realize it's not as endearing to most as it is to you yourself because you're in it. And, there is a stigma to some attorneys in the general population, but I got in it hoping to help people. My fifth grade yearbook said that, want to be an attorney. And the unique part of it, as we discussed, was there was no one in my family that was ever even close to the legal profession. I came
Right.
from a blue
Yeah.
collar family, construction worker, mason worker. So going into a professional field was unique. But I'm telling you, I'm glad I never strayed from that path. It is extremely rewarding. Like any career, it has its moments, both good and bad. But I'm glad I stuck with it. It was, something that I hope my children will strive to do what I did, which is stick with a goal.
Hmm. What This is not an easy profession. What do you find the most rewarding about this work?
Helping people through one of the most difficult times. I think that's really
Mm.
what we have to keep focused on because sometimes they are the most
Yeah.
difficult part of a case because we see them at their worst. Sometimes we're dealing with maybe another attorney that's more difficult than they should be, or a person involved in the process that doesn't know the law. So that doesn't help any. But keeping focus on the end goal of getting them from where they are now to where they should be, that's the most rewarding when you actually do that and you get the right end result.
There is there's a nonprofit organization that I know is near and dear to your heart. What is it and why?
So that's the We Care Fund. That is the charitable arm of the Nassau County Bar Association. It is a charity that was started 35 years ago by Stephen Gassman, who's also been on your podcast. And what it is, it's attorneys giving back, and it's attorneys giving back of not just money but time. A lot of this is attorneys organizing the events, hands on with the fundraising to bring in the money and then also provide the money back to the community. And the reason why I've really grown to love it each year as I'm more involved with it is because you see the direct impact you have on the Nassau County community. And you hear the stories of the people that have been helped by it, whether they're grant recipients or they're needy families that have a Thanksgiving meal they would not otherwise have had. And you understand that's why you do it. It's because I'm very fortunate. My family is very fortunate. And that we're able to help others is what we should be doing.
Yeah, I remember Steve talked about it. He actually and second goal that he had when he started this was for to improve the the public image of attorneys. And you've alluded to that sometimes even dealing with certain attorney personality types, right? That's part of the equation. Um, in your mind, what would it take to improve the image of attorneys?
A lot of work, unfortunately, because it's always the minority that gets the most attention. Unfortunately, you can have 90% of the profession be amazing, but it's the 10% that's
Mm.
not that will get the most attention, and that's where the focus is. Especially nowadays, where you have so many different avenues of social media and immediate gratification of people having cell phones out constantly, that people are more drawn to trauma than to rewarding the good people, unfortunately. So I think for every bad attorney out there that does a bad deed, it takes 10 of us to make up for that one bad deed.
And I think also doing what you're doing, which is courageous, and many of your colleagues, is to sharing part of your personal self and to really show the general public and others that underneath all that there's a human being that after you help uh, divorcing couples and individuals, and you lead your team, and you come home and there's a family and you have to hold it together, for them and yourself, and deal with your own setbacks and own challenges. So hopefully through that is also for them to gain appreciation for what you all do, because this is hard. This is not just understanding the various areas that are involved in divorces, the finances, the parenting issues. There's so much more to it. There is that the emotional aspect, the emotional element, and the hand holding. I mean, there's just so many layers.
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head with that. It's the law is not the hard part. The law, you learn it, you learn how to apply it. It's really managing everyone else that's involved in it, and that's the most difficult part. And I think what makes it even harder is that I think young attorneys, especially when they come in, they think they have to act a certain way, and that they
Mm,
have to be perceived a certain way.
so true.
And I think the best attorneys are those that find the happy medium between your personality coming through, your personality managing the people versus what people expect you to be. And we have several new attorneys here at the firm that I'm trying to get them to get that fine balance between you'll handle it differently than I do because your personality is different. Doesn't mean I'm right, you're wrong, or vice versa. It's be yourself, and that will be genuine. As you're very keen on using that word genuine a lot, because that makes people more comfortable. That makes you, I believe, more persuasive. People will listen to you more if they believe what you're saying, if they trust what you're saying. And when you're genuine, people will trust you more.
Yeah, that is exactly what we're talking about, and it takes certain vulnerability to really
Yeah.
get there and realize, I may not be perfect, but actually the imperfection is what makes you more relatable, and stepping outside of the suits and the robe, so to speak. I had judges on the show, and they're very excited about it. You're absolutely right. On that note, guess what? Let's talk football. I know you're all about that, and actually, it's funny because I don't know much about the game. I didn't grow up in this country. I didn't. This was not part of my life, but I understand you are a huge, huge Raiders fan. First of all, how did you become one?
So I was very lucky that the neighbors next door to me when I was growing up, they were huge football fans, and they originally came from Oakland, California. And their youngest son was 2 years older than I was. So growing up in the '70s, you would be outside until dark, playing wiffle ball, playing football in the street, playing, street hockey, and then you'd all go and hang out at night. I'd hang out with his family, and they were huge Raiders fans, and we would watch the Raiders versus the Steelers, the Raiders versus the Dolphins, and you had Kenny Stabler, John Madden, the huge personalities. I fell in love with them, and we were good back then, by the way.
No comment.
Yeah.
But you know what? Going back to what you said about your team, We had a very brief conversation about that football really is sort of a blend of like a strategy and raw talent. And the same could really be applied to running a practice and cultivating a certain culture. How do you see it?
Oh, exactly. I am lockstep with you on that. We always do sports analogies here in the firm. We have 8 attorneys, and we always sell ourselves to other attorneys and prospective clients. That's a team approach. That we all know that we have good qualities and we have strong suits and maybe some weaker aspects. And the 8 attorneys together, though, solidify all the good qualities and make up for those weaker qualities. And you and I were having the conversation that's exactly like football, which is to me the epitome of a team sport. You have 11 players on each side, that there is no success without all 11 players playing well or someone stepping up and helping their fellow player be their best. That's what the epitome of a leader is. A leader isn't just they do great themselves, but they bring out the best qualities in others. And why, during the pandemic, I mean, I think every firm was hurt by not being in
Yeah.
an office together, not being able to walk in and brainstorm with your colleague, or recognizing that, all right, this client doesn't fit my personality. Maybe I'll go to my partner, Amanda. She's a better fit for this client, or vice versa. That's where, I mean, and I give my partners huge credits for this, because they all put their egos aside. And if they feel another attorney here would better help a client, they have no issue having that client transition over so that a better end result happens for that client. That's the ultimate team approach. It's not I'm doing better, it's we're all doing better, the client's doing better. And that's why I think I relate so well to football. And why, Glenn and I have so many conversations about that. If you want to run a successful business, you've got to manage all your players.
Yeah, and there's something else that we talked about as far as the quality of a leader, and you alluded to it. Um, is not to sort of force your strategy, if you will, or your will onto an employee or the player. As a coach, is being able to draw out. Oh, there's an excitement in the background.
Yeah,
That's
Winthrop Hospital's
the
up the block. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay. Not yeah, that's never good. Um, but anyway, let me say that again, is that we talked about the analogy being a leader, right? That I think many people struggle with that, is when they're leading firms, same thing, coaches probably in football, is that there's a difference between, as a coach or a leader, to be sort of forcing your will onto somebody, as opposed to drawing out what's already there. I think, and you talked about that, is being able to take an employee, a new coming attorney, and sort of draw out their personality, their energy, basically help them tap into what is already there.
Exactly. It's not that we're forcing them to learn a certain way or to do something my way per se. It's recognizing their strong suits, their strong attributes, and maximizing them. We may have an attorney that is very good at dealing with emotional aspects of a case, not so great with the mathematics of it. So then we make certain that we have them with the client relations, and then another attorney is helping with the valuation issues or the economics of the case, because we all have our strong suits, as I said earlier. And much like the football analogy, we draft a game plan to maximize the strong attributes of our players, our clients, our attorneys, as opposed to trying them to do what I say and only what I say, and then they'll fail because it doesn't work for everybody. Scenario A isn't best for everybody. We have to adapt, manage the scenario B. Same thing is when you're dealing with a client. One client may be very emotional, so you have to give them more time to get to the same place maybe you think they should be. And maybe client B is all about the numbers. So they can be brought along a little quicker, but we take each one as they are. We don't force them into our mold or what we think they should be.
Do you have any pregame ritual?
Would that be with work or would that be with football?
Whoa. Okay, let's start with football.
No, I just try to get all distractions aside. I like to enjoy Sundays. I am a huge football fan. I really don't appreciate any of the sports. And then my wife says, thankfully, because if I was so invested in any other sport, I'd never be around for the family. But it's just, chilling out, watching the games, enjoying seeing the plays unfold, seeing if I can anticipate what's going to happen, and enjoying that 3 hour, my time.
Mm. Is that how you reset so you don't bring home, that emotional stuff?
It is definitely a distraction from, what we deal with on a daily basis. And I would say that most attorneys that are, focused on trying to help their clients and do the right thing, get the right end result, we're always taking it home with us. And one of the harder part is to turn it off, to turn off the thinking portion of it. So there'll be where you try to go for, the complete 180, do a distraction where you're not thinking all that much or anything legal wise or anything that's too intense. I'll go home and my wife wants to watch this, great crime drama or this great lore show. And I'm like, well, that's really the opposite of what I want to do when I want to decompress from that type of stuff. So I'll throw on, a comic movie or, I'll watch a cartoon, believe it or not. And everyone here jokes with me about it because we have TVs in our office and I'll have in the background, it's either the NFL network or the Cartoon Network. And it's
I
just a
love it.
distraction where it keeps everything on an even keel.
So, what do you do when if your wife wants to watch a Law and Order or another crime show?
9 times out of 10, she wins. Um,
Good, good
or
answer.
to her credit, she'll understand if I ever push back, then it means I really do care about that issue. So then she'll, compromise at that point. But most stuff, I mean, as you opened up with, it's don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff.
Mm,
Keep it in perspective. If it makes her
yeah.
happy, I'm happy.
I love that. Yeah, and it was so funny when you were describing because I love crime shows, murder mysteries, but I like the light stuff too. And before you said that, you would watch cartoons. I'm thinking, is he going to say he's watching The Housewives? So, you know,
No,
that's a good mind floss.
I wouldn't go
um,
that far.
how you have two daughters, right?
I do. Jessica, who's 21, Abigail, who's 18. Both are in college right now.
Okay.
Jessica's a senior, and Abby's a freshman.
So, how would Jessica and Abby describe their dad?
Hmm. They would describe me as the third child, that I'm more in line with doing what they want and doing a teenage mentality than trying to be an adult when I'm home.
So there's a playful side to you.
Oh, absolutely. That's how I decompress
You
when
know,
I'm out of the office.
e that's interesting that you said that because every time, I run into you at, networking events or we interact, there is a ease about you. I'm thinking, "Does this guy never get worked up?" Actually, on that note, do you have any pet peeves? Like, what is something that, may trigger you about
Oh,
people?
easy one. People that are disingenuous. If you
Mm,
lie or you can't be trusted, that I can't tolerate that. Because I'll give, and especially attorneys, I'll give them a lot of leeway, and I'll make sure that I go out of my way to protect them. But when they're disingenuous or they lie or intentionally do something they know is wrong, that I can't stand.
mm, that makes sense. That's a tough one. Yeah, that is a tough one. You're right. Um, On a final note, what advice would you give to incoming attorneys?
Work hard. It's
Mm,
definitely worth the effort. It's not easy when you first start, but the harder you work initially, the easier it gets. Like anything else in life, if you put in the effort and the time, you definitely will be rewarded. I would also tell them, the mantra of, don't sweat the small stuff, don't get
yeah.
overworked. A lot of people will try to distract them from the real issues. Don't go down that rabbit hole. Stay focused. Realize that if you're always focused on the big picture, you can keep everyone else focused on it, and it'll help yourself mentally so that you're not going down that same rabbit hole with them, but also help your client and the case at the end of the day. And I can tell you, everyone ultimately will appreciate it, whether it's the attorneys you work with, whether it's your client, or the judges you appear before. You will gain a lot more respect if you can always keep it focused.
That is a great advice, and one I will play this for law students who are thinking about this field because, many practitioners would agree that if you're looking for a job, this is not it. This is more than that. This is a career.
Yes.
Um, yeah, yeah. Jeff, this has been so much fun. You really are a true inspiration. You created sort of this great blend of work-life balance, and it's a rigorous career, and you have a full, interesting life. And so, thank you so much for sharing yourself.
Thank you for having me, Denise. This was fun.
And to learn more about Jeff Catterson and how to get a hold of him, and also how to get involved in We Care charity, you can check out the links below in the description. And do not forget to subscribe to Beyond the Bar podcast on our YouTube channel. Follow us on all social media links. The links are below. And until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.